in my KTM 2020 300 TPI. This is the bike that I've chosen. Now that I've had a few hours, a few kilometers to try, and a few different terrains, a few different techniques, I'm going to give you my thoughts, my review, and hopefully some of this information will be useful for you. Straight off, massive fan of this bike. It is exceptional. All of the concerns I'd heard about the beta, the big ones, I can say those are not being issues for me. So what are the big criticisms of the beta? One of them is the Nissan brakes. Whatever generation of Nissan brake they're using on the 2023, I find this is an exceptional brake. I think it's far better than the Brembo. I think it's beats the hell out of a Magura. I haven't tried much brake tech, so I can't say, but from what I've heard, it's probably going to be better than the brake tech as well. That's both for the front brake and for the rear brake. Again, that's my preference. The way that I like my brake to feel is I like it to come on really strong. When I pull the brake in, I want to really feel a nice strong pull up on the brake. The other big thing with the stock betas, with the RR, not the racing, they come with a brand called ZF, the ZF forks, and the ZF shock. The criticism in the past has been about the ZF forks, being a little bit too soft, needing a lot of revalving to get it right. Coming from a hard enduro setup, a softer suspension is completely fine for me. On the beta website, they actually say that the 2023 model of the RR comes with a Generation 3 technology in this fork. I don't know exactly what that means, whether it's Generation 3 valving, whether they've done some work with the shims, whatever it might be. But so far, I've been thoroughly impressed on how good the ZF are. And in fact, I found even with all the stock settings, at my weight, so I'm about 81 kilos, that I probably won't do anything. I probably won't put new springs in, even though I do ride a little bit of motocross. Where they are now is just absolutely perfect for me. They got good hold up downhill. They complement very well with the front brake, with the Nissan brake. The way they are for me is just absolutely perfect. So those were the two big ones that everyone had huge criticisms over the beta. Most people would, even the diehard KTM riders, would say that the engine performance on the beta is exceptional. Very similar in some ways to the Sherco in the way that the engine delivers its power. A wide ratio gearbox. So what is it about the beta that I love so much? The engine. The engine on the beta with its stock gearing is magnificent. No changes required. There's no medium or low head requirement. There's no mapping. You can play around with the jetting, but stock jetting is pretty damn good straight out of the kit. What I was running in my KTM 300 was a flywheel weight and with a two-stroke performance medium compression head. What that meant is in first and second gear, I had so much power and torque, almost I would say it was on par with, I would say, like a 454 stroke. I wouldn't have any problem at a motocross track in second gear, just right off the starts, that real quick instant power lifting the front wheel off. Whereas I'd say on the beta, it is not quite like that. Not saying that it doesn't have strong power in first and second gear, but currently the way that they've got the engine ratio working with their stock gearing, so the stock gearing on this is a 13 at the front and a 48 at the rear, as well as then they've got the wide ratio gearbox. It's quite a different feel. It's almost like before you get this heavy snap, it's a slow build up in first and second gear, but then in third through maybe fifth, sixth, the bike does then have a more rapid snap when you're at the higher RPM. That could also be in part because I'm not too familiar with carbureted bikes. I've obviously ridden them in the past, but it's not something that I've got a whole deal of competency on. Okay, things that I really dislike. Well, I shouldn't say really dislike, but things that I have issues with. First off, the seat. I don't think it's controversial to say that it is quite a firm seat. When I first rode this bike, I thought, what are people whinging about? The seat's fine, it's comfortable, it's not as hard as what they make it out to be. about 4 hours of straight riding and some of the techie stuff, my ass absolutely hurt. This particular seat, and it's not just the foam, it's also the shape. So it's got quite a narrow like tracking through the seat, and without getting too graphic, what I find is that it sits particularly right on top of those two bones under your hip, almost like on the ball joint, and just peels your ass apart. Quite painful. I think I understand why they've designed the seat in this way. I think the shape complements the ergonomics of the rest of the bike and would probably allow, if you're wearing knee braces as well, to be able to grip much better onto the bike. What I mean about the seat, I think it's designed so that your knees can grip it better, and you can see how it's got these two ridges, and that allows for really good, nice, tight knees, like a real good grip around the bike. So that's the seat. Again, a minor issue, something that probably doing a lot of squats on, or just general conditioning with your rear end, perhaps spend a little bit of time in prison, and you'll be able to work through the pain and no problems. Cool, so that's the first thing. The second thing that I have an issue with is the start-stop button. So does it work? Yes. Does it work well? Absolutely works well. But it just looks so ridiculous. It's got there's the stop button, this big red one here, just pops out so far from the bike. It's this big bulky plastic thing. It looks like it's made in China somewhere. I just don't think that complements the rest of the bike. The rest of the bike, this red Italian race bike, with all of its very nicely polished and finished and ergonomic looking features, and then they put a button. Same with the rest of the wiring for your indicators and horn and all that sort of stuff, which is no longer on the bike. I took that off right from the start, but had I had that, it's really big, chunky, crappy looking plastic thing. I think that is an easy fix for Beta. They could really easily replace that with something that I believe would be a little bit more durable, look a lot better, and complement the style of riding that this bike is clearly designed to do. Some people have had issue with the map switch. I have no issue. I understand that this little fuel catcher thing is a little bit of an eyesore for some people. I don't mind it. I'm not a gram counter. Yes, I don't like to add any excess weight to the bike, but something like this that probably weighs under 100 grams is not a big deal for me. Some guys have said, oh, it's really hard to push the map switch when I'm riding. Whatever. I feel like if you're needing to go to, say, a softer map in the hard enduro, it's just unrealistic to be like, oh, I don't have the ability to put my hand down and push that map switch. I think that's a ridiculous comment that I've seen from a lot of reviews of the Betas. You have time to stop and spin your goggles around on the back of your head. You have time to stop and drink from your water pack, but you don't have time to push this button. I think it's ridiculous. If they want to up the handlebars, cool. The trade-off is anything you add to the handlebars as you start rolling those bikes, all that sort of stuff gets bashed off and broken and all that sort of stuff. I prefer as minimalistic on the handlebars as I possibly can. So I think this is a great place for the map switch. Cool, so that's about it when it comes to the Beta, the stock Beta. Yeah, 100%. One of the guys on the side.